Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, guys. How are you all doing? It's Thursday. Hope you're all doing well. We're almost near the weekend. Hope you guys are all doing well, healthy, and happy, and whatnot. Welcome to the Snowflake Conflict, episode 10, the first Snowflake Conflict this year. I wasn't actually planning to bring this back. This is not going to be. It's just going to be around every now and then. This is not a series I'm going to always do. The odd Thursdays I will do. Some Thursdays I won't do anything. But you know, I felt like live streaming today. I really did feel like live streaming today, and I've got it's a couple of interesting topics we'll be talking about today. We're going to be covering specifically in Israel, a bit on Myanmar. I'm going to talk a bit about Haiti and the Dominican Republic and what's happening in terms of migration there, because I think that's quite, considering the situation in Haiti. We're also going to cover Sudan, which the US has now declared what's happening in their genocide. They're not declaring it for what's happening in Gaza. So we'll talk about that a bit later on as well. And if we have time, we'll cover what's happening in the war in Ukraine as well. The links for all the articles we'll cover today will be in the description as well. So welcome to episode 10 of the Snowflake Conflict. The date and time of this is the 9th of January 2025. 8 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite and on twitch.tv/Reganelite1 as well. And both chats are up. I was just having kind of a tiny technical issue. That's why I couldn't get it on the dot. But I'm not normally late, so that's pretty good at least. But David Gerardo was in first with hello to everybody. Good to see you, David. Hope you're doing well. Billy Kershaw is there as well. Good to see you, Billy. Hope you're doing well. Alexis, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Madbunk33, one of our moderators. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And Jal there as well. Good to see you both. And anybody else, and all people who have said hello, and anybody else who may be lurking in the chat. So let's get started, guys, with the first one. Just a reminder, I will be doing a Q&A live stream. If you haven't, feel free to go to the community posts on the YouTube channel and drop in your questions on that as well, so that I don't have to write questions for myself, because obviously we met the super chat target for that. So feel free to drop any questions on it. It doesn't even have to be news and politics. It could be anything, guys. So it can be any questions you want. Just go to the community tab and literally look up the post and just write any questions you want, and we'll discuss them, guys. So the first topic I've got for you guys is from the Association Press. So more than 46,000 Palestinians have been killed in the Israel-Hamas war, officials have said. So this is the latest that the Association Press has numbers have. Now, I've heard conflicting stories that some say it's as much as 47,000. So it's entirely possible this number could actually be even higher. I said that it would not be long before it hits 50,000. I'm going to make a prediction now that we will hit 50,000 by, unless there is a ceasefire, probably before mid-February, maybe even the end of February, with the numbers that are going. I thought maybe end of March, maybe I'm exaggerating, because I just feel like the bloodshed is just going up and up and up, and nothing's been done about it. They say that there are talks behind the scenes, but I'm not buying it at all, and I'm sure you guys aren't buying it at all. Anthony Blinken, as we were reading the report here, saying that he's trying to push for a last-minute deal before the Trump administration come in, and I'm just like, mate, you've had more than enough time to try and sort something out, and you've just been too soft on Israel, and Trump's going to be even softer on them. In fact, he's going to be even more harsher on Hamas, and the Palestinian people are going to suffer. So it's not looking good, guys, at all. It really, really is not. So more than 46,000 Palestinians have been killed in the Israel-Hamas war, Gaza's health ministry said today, with no end in sight to the 15-month conflict. The ministry said a total of 46,006 Palestinians have been killed and 109,378 wounded, and it said women and children make up more than half of the fatalities. But he does not say how many of the dead were fighters or civilians. Yeah, this is the thing that it's impossible to know, because many people who died there instantly declared that they were a terrorist by Israel. So it's impossible to differentiate the fighters and civilians, because we know that some fighters blend themselves in disguise as civilians as well. There's also, because Hamas do that as well. So it's near to next impossible to record what the number is, but we know this number it should be higher anyway, because we're not counting the dead under the rubble, because a lot of people will be dead under rubbles and buildings as well, because not many will have been picked up as well. So that number is already higher than what it says here as well. The Israeli military said it has killed over 17,000 militiants without providing evidence. So if they're saying that, so they're admitting that they've killed more than 30,000 innocent people. Then that's what they're admitting there. They just admitted there that they've killed over 30,000 Palestinians. Are they sorry about that? No, of course they're not. It says it tries to avoid harming civilians and blames Hamas for the deaths because of the military operates in residential areas. Israel has also struck what it claims are militiants hiding in shelters and hospitals, or often killing women and children. This is BS. You cannot tell me that everything, like, they've wiped out more. This is just BS. This is 100% BS. That you cannot wipe out 90% of the buildings in Gaza and tell me that is justified in some way, shape, or form. There is no justification for it. Like, I'm just not buying that. In recent weeks, Israel and Hamas have appeared to inch closer to an agreement for a ceasefire and the release of hostages. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said this week that a deal is very close and he hopes to complete it before handing over US diplomacy to the incoming Trump administration. That's not going to happen. I will be shocked if a deal is reached before Trump comes in. But he and other US officials expressed similar optimism on several occasions over the past years, only to see indirect talks stall. The war began when Hamas-led militiants stormed into Israel on October 7th, 2023, killing some 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and abducted about 250. Some 100 hostages are still inside Gaza. Israeli authorities believe that at least a third of them were killed in the initial attack or have died in captivity. The war has flattened large areas of Gaza and displaced around 90% of its 2.3 million people, with many forced to flee multiple times. Hundreds of thousands are packed into sprawling tent camps along the coast, with limited access to food and other essentials. What we are living is not a life. Nobody could bear the situation we are experiencing in a single day. Mudwa Albing, a displaced woman, told the Associated Press in an interview this week. We wake up at night to the sounds of men crying. Because of the bad situation, she said. The situation is unbearable. We have no energy left, and we want it to end today. Albig spoke on a dusty road in the southern city of Khan Yunis next to a destroyed building. Behind her, the sea of a makeshift tent filled with displaced families stretched into the distance. On Thursday, dozens of people took part in funeral prayers outside Al Assas Martyrs Hospital in central Gaza city of Deir al-Bahir for people killed in Israeli strikes the day before. Yeah, I think over 80 people were killed in that strike as well. In the hospital morgue, a man could be seen kneeling and bidding farewell to a relative before slamming a refrigerator door in an outburst of grief. Palestinian health officials said Israeli airstrikes killed at least 9 people in Gaza on Wednesday, including 3 infants, among them 1 week-old baby and 2 women. This was a report from Khalid, a report from Cairo here, just for reference as well. I'm going to keep talking about it. It's not going away. Like, while we do have our own problems here in the UK, these, throughout the whole Christmas period and New Year and whatnot, nothing has changed in Gaza. People are still suffering. People are still dying. People still don't have access to basic needs. They are desperate, and what's being done is nothing. It is same old, same old. It is literally keep calm and carry on, according to the Israel, and the rest of the world continues to just carry on as normal, as if everything's fine. And it's not okay, and it's not fine, and these people are suffering, and we know that these people are suffering. And I'm going to keep calling it out, and I will keep talking about this until the bloodshed stops. And it just needs to be called out for what it is, guys. It really does. So, this report from CNN, we're sticking with the conflict in the Middle East. Now, I've tried to find the video. I cannot find it, but maybe someone else may be able to find it for me. But So Israel's military releases an interrogation video in a bid to defend assault on Gaza hospital. So I'm going to read into this before I comment on the video because I think this is important. So the Israeli military, in an effort to defend its devastating assaults on Gaza's hospitals, this week released an edited, keyword there, edited, interrogation video that said it bolstered its case that Hamas uses the medical facilities as cover for military activities. So it says, in the footage, a man who is said to be a staff member of Camwell Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza said he joined Hamas military wing in 2021 and that the organization and its ally, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, based themselves at hospitals because they believe the Israeli military will not target them there. Speaking while in Israeli detention, the man appears to be under direct or implied duress. The Geneva Convention, a set of treaties, a set of humanitarian rules for post-war protecting civilians and soldiers, say that images of prisoners of war POW should not be exposed to public curiosity. So yeah, I haven't seen the video. Like I said, I did try to find it and I could not. But if someone wants to link it to me, please feel free to do so. So right here already, first thing, yeah, he's under implied distress. He's speaking in Israeli detention, and he's basically been told, the man has been tortured, beaten and whatnot, and he's been told, you need to say this, or X, Y, and Z. And we know, good evening, Somerset 55, good to see you, I hope you're doing well. And good morning, Stephen Morgan. And we know, guys, that they are trying to subdue men into admitting that they are part of Hamas, and so they can make up stories about them, or to build a fake story about something about Gaza to use for their own needs. The fact that just because this person is saying it does not mean it's true. It does not mean that it's true. Like it says there, like implied duress. I need to see the footage to know for certain. But obviously, CNN is a more reliable news source when it comes to this, because I've not seen this report. I've only just seen this report from here. I'm sure other outlets have got it as well. But I really do think that I really have a hard time basically believing that this man is saying this because he wants to say it. I generally believe this man is saying it because they've got literally a gun to his head or they're ready to torture him. I generally believe that. The Geneva Convention set a treaty that set humanitarian rules of war protecting civilians and soldiers, and they say that prisoners of war POW should not be exposed to public curiosity. The International Committee of the Red Cross said that it extends to videotaped interrogations. Even if WOPs appear to make voluntary public statements or willing participants in the recording of images, disclosure of the public remains unlawful because their well-being depends entirely on an enemy power. And this is it. This is. They are literally being held hostage, so they can literally say anything, but it does not mean that it's them saying that. Like literally, it's like somebody in Guantanamo Bay admitting that they did something, and you're going to tell me that somebody, like, it's like putting a video footage on somebody in Guantanamo Bay, and you know how they're treated there. You're not gonna convince me that they're saying what they're saying because it's coming from them. Physicians for Human Rights Israel, the PHRI, which has visited some of more than 130 Gazan medical professionals in Israeli detention, said those detained have routinely been subject to torture, something the Israeli government denies. Well, we already know that they are doing this because we have seen photos and video footage of Palestinians coming out of these prisons after being detained and held, with some of them with broken bones, scars, marks, all sorts of things. We know that they are doing this. There is evidence from. There are many people who have brought claims against Israel, and none of them have been followed up as well. The Israeli Defense Force have repeatedly targeted Gaza hospitals with armed drones and ground raids, alleging that Hamas uses the facilities as command and control centers. Again, I don't buy it at all. They have no evidence. They have not given any evidence to support this. And the last time they raided a place, they raided a hospital or school or something, when they said they had video footage, they showed the video footage, and it was like, it's not very effective. It's not very convincing. The military has regularly released interrogation videos with healthcare personnel detained in those raids, as well as photos of small arms allegedly found at hospitals, and videos of militias operating in the vicinity of hospitals. But it has not presented conclusive evidence about a single command center located within a hospital complex. That's because they're lying. Because they have no evidence to support it. Until they have evidence, they are lying. But but for some reason, the media, the West, will not call out Israel for their lies. They just will not do it. Following an Israeli raid last month, Mark Teflar, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Following an Israeli raid last month, northern Gaza, last functioning hospital, Kamel Adwin, was forced out of operation. The military claimed that it captured 240 Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists. Among those detained was the head of the hospital, Dr. Hassam Abdul Safar, whom Israeli authorities suspect of being a Hamas terrorist operative. Yeah, they took him and they won't say where they've taken him. An accusation for which Israeli authorities have provided no evidence, and Dr. Abdu was briefly detained at the end of October. Oh, okay, but he was released several hours later. Maybe a different doctor than I was thinking of. He now remains in Israeli detention and has been denied access to a lawyer, according to PHIR. His mother died of a heart attack this week. His family said in a statement on Tuesday. Yeah, so he is still detained. So he said... He was briefly detained at the end of October, but released several hours later, so he now remains in Israeli detention. So they're holding him in detention without charge, basically. Israel has arrested hundreds of medical professionals. Guy Shavli, the head of PHRI, have told Al Jazeera last month. And they're still holding 130 medical personnel. We visit almost 30 of them. And they testify about torture. They don't get the food and nutrition they need. They don't get the clothes they need. The mattresses to lie on. There is direct violence by prison guards. This is day-to-day experience of prisoners in Israeli incarceration facilities. Doctors released from Israeli custody have alleged that they were tortured. CNN has previously reported on the grave conditions in detention. We've talked about this before. The Israeli military previously denied any allegations of torture in its custody, but has said that any prisoner has a right to file an appeal. The IDF ensures proper conduct towards detainees in custody. Any allegations of misconduct by IDF soldiers examined and dealt with accordingly. No, you don't. You turn a blind eye to it. That's an absolute lie. The US State Department said it agrees with Israel's assessment about Hamas using hospitals as command and control centers. Based on what information? Their word. That's the US just takes their word for it. Israel's most forceful accusation came early in the war when it said there was a bunker facility under Gaza City Al-Shafir Hospital when CNN was taken to the facility under IDF escort. Journalists were shown a shaft at the hospital complex, but no evidence to suggest that there was a command and control facility. Again, yes, this is what I remember. Yeah, I remember seeing the footage. Yeah, they showed that there were tunnels. They showed that there were long, deep, dark tunnels. We know that there are tunnels within Gaza because Hamas used them to get round, but there was no evidence of a command and control center. And this is what they kept stating after every single school and hospital they kept targeting. They kept tying it with Hamas command and control center with no evidence. This is not the first time that Israeli government has released a video with an interrogation of Kamel Adwin's staff member. So in December 2023, Israel's internal security agency, known as Shin Bet, released an interrogation video of Khalid al-Khaliq, and then the director of the hospital. And he said that Hamas political leadership used the hospital in the early days of the war because they felt they were not being targeted there. Dr. Ali Kanok, who was arrested in December 2023, remains in Israeli detention. And early in the war, the Israeli military released videos showed that it shows Hamas presence at Al-Shafir Hospital. Presenting security camera footage that appears to show hostages being brought through the hospital, CNN could not independently verify the content of the videos. Well, it's coming from IDF, of course. The IDF also regularly released videos of and shown journalists caches of small arms allegedly found at hospitals, though CNN analysis showed that some of those weapons may have been moved or placed prior to the journalist's visit. Yeah, of course it is. That, like I said, they will try to make set things up to say, oh look, it's all Hamas. See, look, we found these guns here. You mean guns that you've taken from somewhere else and moved them? No, that we found these weapons here. You know, look at this graffiti on the wall. Like, there's no banner or anything like that. It's just, yeah, we're not buying into it. Race mixing on Twitch. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Everyone's all saying hello to each other on the YouTube chat. Anyone? 1 week old terrorist that is pre-Acacia, says Jal. Yeah, indeed. But Ms. Jow says, I do not believe a one word Hamas says or one word Israel says. I do believe a kid that was hiding from the bombs and was shot by a drone. Well, we know about. I think you guys remember I said a while ago. I didn't show you the footage, but I saw the footage of a mother walking with a child with a group of innocent. They were just walking along in Gaza, and she was shot dead. And I saw the footage. She fell to the ground, and the child ran to the crowd that were just a few, not too far behind. Even though the child was carrying a white flag, they still shot her mum. An Israeli sniper. The footage was clear as day, but apparently, it's justified self-defense. Shooting an innocent woman, self-defense. Torturing Palestinians is considered self-defense. Denying them water and food, self-defense. Like, how much more nonsense are people going to believe? Like, it's just nonsense. Lots of hospitals have tunnels, most going into morgue areas, so that does mean that they are command centers. There's no. They didn't show like the video footage. I don't know if you remember, if you saw the video footage that I was referring to. Like I remember actually looking at it one time with Big Madge when we were looking at our Discord chat, and like even he was agreeing with me at the time. It's like there's not really any evidence. Like there's no real evidence to support that Hamas were present in these tunnels. There was no evidence to support that. This is the thing. So yeah, it was hard to. It's a very. We're going. I'll cover more of this on Rumble over as we continue, but they've got 11 days left to try and sort out a deal. The Biden administration. I'm not buying into it. They're going to get it sorted, I'm afraid, guys. The next story I've got for you guys, moving away from the Middle East, we're going to Africa for this one. Very interesting story, to say the least, guys. So, Chad's presidency was attacked, and a coup attempt, Boko Haram or junk fighters. So, an assault on the presidential complex comes amid a visit by China's foreign minister. The withdrawal of French troops and instability caused by armed groups. So what is this all about? So I'm going to read some of this and then I'll share my thoughts with you guys. So this is in Chad. Chad's capital city is still smarting after delay gun battle erupts on Wednesday night between security forces and more than a dozen armed fighters who brazenly stormed the presidential palace. At least 19 people were killed. Businesses and schools opened as usual on Thursday and most people went to work. But there was more heightened security presence on the streets of Njijama. If I mispronounced the name, I apologize. A city already teeming with soldiers. Military tanks dotted the city centre and roads leading to the palace complex were closed. And the assault comes weeks after controversial parliamentary elections in which opposition parties boycotted the vote. They accused the president, Mapared, military... Idris Derby's military-turned-civilian government of trying to legitimize his rule. The attack also follows Chad's surprising expulsion of hundreds of French troops in December, and France, a former colonial power and close ally, has operated military bases in the country for decades. Conflicting reports about whose Wednesday's assailants might be floating around on social media, adding to confusion as government officials attempt to make light of the threat. So here is what we know. So, a group of 24 heavily armed men attacked the president's office at around 8:45 p.m. on Wednesday, a government spokesperson and foreign ministers Abraham Kamulama said, speaking on Chad State TV. The men were armed with knives, not guns, he said. At least 18 of the attackers were killed in the ensuing gun battle, while one member of the Chadian security forces also died. 3 other security officials were injured, the minister added. 2 of them seriously. Videos of the aftermath of the shooting showed bloodied bodies on the floor close to a white pickup truck. And he said that the attackers were killed after managing to penetrate the camp surrounding the presidency. I was impressed by the military equipment. We have a very good army and the Chadians can sleep soundly. Our country is well guarded, he said. President Deby was in the presidential complex at the time of the attack. Hours before, at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Deby had met with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Ying, who was in the country for a state visit. And at least 6 people have been arrested in connection with the attack. Although it is unclear who they are, the ministry said investigations are ongoing. So this is where during the provisional and local elections on December the 28th here, members of the Chadian security forces here. Yeah, that definitely seems perfectly all right here, doesn't it, guys? So why is the country tense? The landlocked Central African nation has long experienced instability in the form of rebel movements, armed groups, and coups d'etats. Although Chad is rich in oil, a stagnant economy and harsh climate puts it on the list of Africa's poorest countries. Those who seize power often work hard to quell rebellions by distributing jobs to former rebels and political opposition members. Yusuf Lasrin, head of sales program at German think tank Cohen Asafar, that's KAS, had told Al Jazeera that Chad's budget is spent on paramilitary to secure government survival, he said. Derby, a military general, seized power in April 2021 after rebels killed the strongman president and his father Idris on the battlefield. Before his death, the older Derby ruled Chad with an iron fist for 30 years. So they had an iron fist ruler for a long time as well. Yeah, sometimes notifications, if Stephen Banker, you need to turn them off and turn them back on. So I remind people, if you want notifications for the channel, and if they're not working, you turn them off and turn them back on. But it's not, that's fine, it's no worries. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. 30 years is a long time. Although the military government promised and delivered on elections, the younger Derby's tenure had been characterized by turbulence. He has struggled to attract popular support in the country, and as many believe, he seized power unconstitutionally and merely extended his Derby dynasty. Experts described his government's December decision to expel French troops as a way to gain support amid widespread anti-France sentiments in the former West and Central African colonies. Derby's government is also accused of crackdowns after young people and opposition parties took to the streets in October 2022 to protest a delay in the promised elections. Security forces clamped down on them, killing 128 people and arresting many more. This is a country that is not going to get out of the hole that it is in. And unfortunately, there's not much. It's almost as if I don't know what's being done to help this country, but clearly it's clearly problematic. In May 2024, Derby swept the presidential poll, winning more than 60% of the vote, to the anger of opposition groups that described the exercise as fraudulent. In December, the country held controversial parliamentary elections for the first time since 2015. Although government officials hailed the vote as a key step towards ending military rule, it was marked by a low turnout and opposition allegations of fraud. Several political parties boycotted the vote. Well, if they boycotted the vote, that's clearly not good. Chad's president Mahamudu Derby at his inauguration there. Yeah, he seems like a very respectable leader for Chad. Very respectable leader. There are several conflicting theories about who might have been responsible for Wednesday's attack. Some have blamed the armed group Boko Haram, while others said it might be a military coup. Boko Haram fighters have launched incursions into the country since 2013, operating from their base in the Lake Chad bastion, which Chad shares with Nigeria, Niger, and Cameroon. Although the group was originally founded in Nigeria, borders allow it to expand in operations, and in 2015, Boko Haram suicide bombers targeted police buildings and markets in Nigeria in a series of attacks, and more than 50 people were killed and more than 100 were injured. Security forces told the AFP and Reuters news agency that Wednesday's attack was likely by the group. It wouldn't be far-fetched by Boko Haram to try doing this, though this is a massive security lapse at the palace. Beverly Ogshang, a Senegal-based security analysis at Control Risk and intelligence firm, had told Al Jazeera. So they might want to retaliate against Operation Haskin, she added, referencing a security operation that President Derby personally launched in October. The aim is to track and neutralize hundreds of Boko Haram fighters who attack and kill more than 40 Chadian troops in Lake Chad Bastion area on the 28th of October. However, government officials have downplayed the Boko Haram theory. In an interview with Chad state broadcaster hours after the attack, the spokesman Camerola said the attacks were probably not Boko Haram members or part of an organized armed group. He described them instead as drunken Ped Nichols, a reference to French comic featuring hapless crooks. They said the attackers didn't have guns initially as well. That was that weird thing as well. But a random pair of crooks would find it difficult to attack at the seat of power this is the thing. The seat of power. The city on any day is crawling with camouflage wearing gun-toting soldiers hanging from military trucks. Exactly. Several other armed groups threaten Chad's stability, notably rebel fighters of the Front for Change and Concord in Chad, FACT, located near the Libyan border as well. The group, led by longtime rebel Mahmoud Badili Ali, aims to topple the Chadian government under Delby. Late President Delby succumbed to wounds suffered during a battle against the rebels as they pushed towards Nairobi in 2021. At that time, FACT vowed to strike after the younger Delby took power. Chad is not a monarchy, the group said in a statement posted online. There can be no drastic devolution of power in our country, a statement added, with a FACT threatening to depose the new leader. On the other hand, Ostrich said reports of a coup could also be credible. Wednesday's attack could be an inside job with the aim of assassinating the President Delby and taking over power, she added. I do think that's more plausible, based on what we've read so far. Coups are not uncommon in Chad. The late Derby seized power by disposing the dictator Hissarine Habred. In 2008, thousands of fighters of the rebel group Union Forces for Democracy and Development, the UFDD, under leader Mahmoud Nouri, attacked Del Jamal to dispose Derby, but were repelled. So did the French troops' exit cause a vacuum? Analysts said Chad is likely to face more attacks like this one. Armed groups might try to take advantage of the security vacuum that could open up as French troops continue with their exit from the country. Although Chad signed a deal with Hungary in October and is expected to welcome 200 Hungarian soldiers who will support and train local forces, it's not clear when the Hungarians will arrive. What on earth transpired you morons to sign a deal with Hungary of all people? Oh my god. Chad is in a fragile state, Lessine said. Though he was asking the French to leave in December was a gamble, gave him a popularity boost, he said. But obviously the French military was the major regime protection it had, not just by the forces present, but also intelligence sharing. The former French colony hosted France's last military base in the Sahel, but at the end of November. Ended defense and security agreements with Paris, calling them obsolete. About 1,000 French military personnel were stationed in the country, and are in the process of being withdrawn after France fell out with three other of the countries governed by military governments hosted to Paris: Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Yeah, we covered the Niger one a few times, I remember. Ostring said the fact that Chad was downplaying an attack by Boko Haram could mean that some officials want to blame an external actor for sabotaging their efforts. I suspect there will be opportunistic groups that will try and make it seem like France is sabotaging Chad, she said. We've seen similar claims in Niger, Burkina Faso, right after their respective coups and demands for French forces to leave. Yeah, because of that vacuum, because the French forces were there and gave them the protection and the support they need, and obviously now that they're not there, someone else could seize power here. Chad has not had a very good history, as we just read there, and obviously with the continuous withdrawal of French forces means they're on their own. Obviously, as we can see, based on this, it's not a country that is doing very well, under severe attack and conflict. My thoughts are with the people more than anything. But do I ever see Chad right now any kind of peace or stability coming? Not really, I'm afraid, guys. But yeah, that's pretty difficult time, difficult for their people, that's for sure. But this story, like so many others in Africa, you know, and actually this is a good time to talk about it because we just covered it. This once again reinforces, guys, how important it is that countries that have democracies, that have the means to help these nations. It's so important that we do more for these nations, that we help bring stability to them, that we give these countries, like, I'm not saying we should go in with false false democracy on them. Sorry, it's my water bottle making all those noises. But these countries can't govern themselves. And there are so many. I know there's all these countries that it's based off history. There's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of tribals. There's religion playing into all this. A lot of greed and whatnot. I know there's so many factors playing into these countries. I understand that, guys. I really understand that. But as human beings on an international level, we have an obligation to do something about these. And for decades and decades and decades, we have just, for countless decades, British Empire, Belgium, the French, and other nations who had control of parts of the continent of Africa, they owe these countries a debt. And even though they don't want to pay it back within gold or money or whatever, they should be doing something to help them on their feet and to ensure that they can stay on their feet. The fact that so many countries have had so many coups is quite shocking and quite depressing as well. That not enough is being done about these. Like we always hear constantly about what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in the Middle East, and we just don't talk about the problems in Africa. We don't talk about them enough. I know we know people that fleeing the continent from the increasing climate change as well, because that is having an impact on the continent as well. But this is what's leading also to mass amounts of immigration as well. These consistent problems that these countries are going through, and we need to be doing more to help them. We need to be doing more to help them, and we're not doing enough. And that's why I cover the. I do want to try. There's so many stories in Africa. I just can't cover them all, guys. I just can't cover them all. I mean, I think about Ethiopia, like that. Even though they have a dock and they're on the board, they're an unstable. They're a very stability country. Somalia, another one. Central African Republic. The Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. One of that has the problems that it has. It's based on so many things that the problems that the Congo has. It's almost near to next impossible to get anything to that country. There's so many barriers for many of these nations. It's all the sad efforts of colonialization. Exactly, Stupid Morn. It is, unfortunately. Luckily, these countries need education and survival needs, not dependence. Yeah, education, survival needs as well, but they're in a cycle. All these countries are stuck in a cycle, and it's very hard to break out of that cycle, especially when you have countries like Russia and China who are looking to influence them to gain a hold of their resources. And this actually, before I go to the funny video, this is exactly because of how difficult it is for Western nations, for private businesses and companies and capitalists to get their hand on resources in Africa, because there's so many conflicts. This is why they are pushing Trump. This is why Donald Trump is talking about buying Greenland. Because you will not have that if they take Greenland. They won't have any of these issues. They will be able to, there'll be a huge amount of resources that they can take America, while not having to deal with the amount of troubles that's happening on the continent, for example. Because there's a lot of cost, a lot of money you need to throw in to help some of these nations, and there's not even any, and a lot of money has been thrown to try and help these nations, and it's just end up spat on the wall. But I totally accept how difficult and complex the situation is. I really, really do, for a lot of these nations. Jao says the PALBs, Portuguese-speaking countries that include Portugal, Brazil, African, Portuguese Africa, offered help to Chad, training and economic support. And they are just too corrupt. I mean, what are the people supposed to do? Like, rise up? I mean, they just get shot when they try to rise up. That's the problem. Why do African nations like Portuguese UN troops? Because we understand how people act, and our personnel treats them as they would a European person. Respect and education goes a long way. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're supposed to you treat them. You got to treat them with dignity and respect and whatnot. Like that should be a common sense thing. But the fact, if obviously, I'm assuming that because of the past from certain countries, it's not that same kind. It's not same kind of feeling, of course. So, but we will move away from that in a moment, guys. We're going to break the ice a little bit with a funny video. I've got quite a few more stories to cover here, but this one here is a short one from Foil and Arms. I've actually got 2 videos from the YouTube channel today, so I hope you guys enjoy this one. This first one here is the headline of When You're a Russian Map Maker. So I hope you guys enjoy this one.
I'm not telling him. You should tell him.
I'm not telling him.
You're the ranking officer.
I told him last time.
All right. Hammer, sickle, vodka.
Okay. Hammer, sickle, vodka.
Good luck, my friend.
Нет.
Hello, Sergey.
Нет.
Yeah, there has just been a few small changes. Please, no, please.
How am I supposed to do my job if you cannot do yours?
It is okay. Look, we could just. All you need to do is just change it. Rub that bit out there, and then turn that line in on itself, maybe, and then that's all gone there. There's less for you to do down here. That's good. So yes, very good. Okay, that's very good. And this bit here is also gone. So. And all of that.
Maybe it's better if you just start again.
Start again, yes.
It's easier.
Okay. Hello, Sergey.
What is it now? I will never finish. I cannot work like this.
No, you cannot. You've been drafted.
What? No, I can't work like this. I can do it.
Well, you can't do it anymore. That's all right. You've been drafted. No, I can do it. No, you can't take a picture, Joe. You can't take a picture because it's constantly updating. Like, if they're constantly taking territory or losing territory, they have to consistently update the map. So that's the crux of the story. Oh dear. I do like that one. It's a funny one. I like the other Russian one where they interrogate him at the door to take him in. We take him, and they take him away in the end. So that's a funny one as well. Guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Greatly appreciated. And share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing as well, because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and finally support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Being a YouTube member gets you access to custom emojis, also gets you access to members' community posts, and whenever you comment on my videos, I always get a response from me. So you get much better offer from being a YouTube member to my channel than you do being a Reformed subscriber or member for them, because you don't get anything in return. But, excuse me, my stomach's playing up. But you get something in return if you financially support me as a YouTube member. So just remember that, guys. And also, if you want to financially support me, you can do so by joining the Patreon or buying me a coffee. Links for them are in the description. Do check out the Discord server, which is free to join as well. That's free to join us on there. And if you want to follow me on other social media platforms, there's a links down below called the links tree. Click that link and you'll find where all my social medias are on there. So thank you very much to anyone and everyone for listening. It is greatly appreciated. A reminder, tomorrow will be Q&A live stream, and a reminder as well, next week will be the first Snowflake. I don't know, I called it mountaintop. Might be because of the big mountain behind me, but we're going to have myself, Power to the People, Lee Korn, and One Angry Pagan for that show. So do join us next week on Thursday for that. Cross fingers, nothing happens with Lee Korn will be up for that still. Cross fingers. So do join us for that show. We'll have plenty to discuss. That is for sure, guys. I want to get February's one sorted. I just need confirmation from 1 or 2 people. For those who are wondering why I haven't announced February's one, I will announce it soon. I just need confirmation from 1 or 2 people, guys. The next one here is from Al Jazeera. Myanmar's military regime is to free nearly 6,000 prisoners in amnesty. So Myanmar's military rulers announced an amnesty for 5,864 prisoners to mark Independence Day, state media reports. They're not independent. You took the country from its people. You didn't. You took the country from its people. Let's be very, very clear here. What they're doing is pretty despicable. I don't know how long this civil war has been going on for a good while now. I don't know when it's going to end, but we do know that they have slowly lost ground, the military, and I just wonder if the military regime, the Judah, will take even more drastic actions to stop losing the territory at some point. But Independence Day. So Myanmar's military rulers will release 5,864 prisoners, including 180 foreigners, under an amnesty to mark the country's 77 years of independence from Britain's colonial rule, state media have reported. I'll shut up now, because I'm Britishman. The military said on Saturday they ordered the release on humanitarian and compassionate grounds, and will commute the life sentence of 144 people to 15 years, according to state-run MRTV television. Details were not provided of what the prisoners have been convicted of, and the nationalities of the foreign detainees who were set to be deported on release were not known. The Associated Press news agency said the foreigners to be released could include 4 Thai fishermen who were arrested by Myanmar's Navy in late November after patrol boats opened fire on Thai fishing vessels in water close to their maritime border in the Amaran Sea. Thailand's Prime Minister said she expects the 4 to be released on Independence Day. Myanmar regularly grants amnesty to thousands of people to commemorate holidays or Buddhist festivals. Last year, the military government announced the release of more than 9,000 prisoners to mark independence. A similar release took place in October 2021. Among those still imprisoned is the country's former leader, Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi. The 79-year-old is serving a 27-year sentence tied to 14 criminal charges brought against her by the military, ranging from incitement and election fraud to corruption, and she denies all the charges. This year's Independence Day ceremony was held in Myanmar's capital and involved 500 representatives from the government and military. The speech by Myanmar's military chief, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, who was not present at the event, was delivered by Deputy Prime Minister and Army General Sung Wang. In his speech, he called on ethnic minority armed groups that have been fighting military rule for the last 4 years to put down their weapons and resolve the political issues through peaceful means. Yeah, peaceful means, just like you guys peacefully took power from a democratic government. Myanmar has been in turmoil since early 2021 when the military overthrew an elected civilian government and violently suppressed pro-democracy protests, leading to a nationwide armed rebellion that has made strong gains against the military on the battlefield. 2 weeks ago, a rebel group known as the Arkhan Army captured a major regional command in the country's west, the second to fall to armed resistant movements in 5 months. The group also recently took control of 271 kilometers, that's a 168-mile stretch of the border with Bangladesh when it captured the town of Mengdao. I think we covered that a while back as well. But yes, happy Independence Day for them. I'm happy that they're independent. Just wish they were free of this military rule, if I'm honest. But this conflict is still continuing. That's the only story I've got, unfortunately, on Myanmar. But obviously, it's part of their tradition that they release prisoners on Independence Day. But yeah, it's very hard for me to say to think it's independence, considering that they're in absolute chaos right now. But it is because of I think I talked about this before, that the military Judah, their actions of taking control of the country has led to many ethnic groups working together to try and overthrow them, and that's what's happened. So since then, it's just a country that has it's been, while it is divided between the military and rebels are gaining traction, and they're much more united in defeating the military. I do hope they succeed, but I don't really have any more to add in terms of like the fighting at the moment. So I do apologize, but that's all I have on them at the moment, guys. So this, while I'm glad that the United States have declared this, I just have there is just one thing that's kind of itching me about this story here, guys, from The Guardian. So the United States has declared Sudan's paramilitary forces have committed genocide during the civil war. So Blinken details patterns of ethnic violence in which the rapid support forces have killed civilians and blocked access to supply. Now, I want to stress this right now. I welcome this rule, this declaration, but from the United States that they have declared that the rapid support forces committing genocidal acts. We know that they've been committing genocidal acts for a while. We have heard reports of them. I have not seen video footage. I want to stress that. While I have not seen video footage, there's been numerous reports that the RSF have been committing acts of genocide by pillaging, raping, torturing people whenever they seize land and territories from the innocent whenever they take in territory. So I want to stress that the RSF have continuously denied these allegations. Some of these allegations have also been thrown at the Sudanese army as well, although they've not been as high as the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. But the one people missing out on all of this is that while I'm glad they've been declared this, there is still hundreds of thousands of Sudanese who are starving, who are struggling, who are living in constant fear, who are having to flee their country to neighboring countries just in order to have some kind of stability with their lives. And this has been going on for quite a while now, Sudan. And like I always say, it's not one that's very much talked about. And I'm glad we're talking about it because it's important to remind us that, for all you hear about what happens in Ukraine and what happens in the Middle East with Gaza, this has been going on and not enough people are talking about it simply because of the fact that it's an African country. It's not in Europe. It's not in the Middle East. And that's why the mainstream media doesn't cover it, because they don't consider it big news. Well, it does matter because these people's lives matter just as much as anyone else's. And the media chooses not to highlight this issue enough. So the United States has formally declared that Sudan's rapid support forces have committed genocide during the country's ongoing civil war, marking the second time in less than 30 years that genocide has been perpetrated in Sudan. Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, denounced the determination on Tuesday, while imposing sanctions on the RSF commander Mohammed Hamid Dalo, known as Hamiri, for his role in what described as systematic atrocities many perpetrated in West Darfur. While both the RSF and the rival Sudanese armed forces have been accused of committing war crimes during the civil war which broke out in 2023, and which have claimed tens of thousands of lives, Blinken detailed a pattern of systematic ethnic violence in which RSF had killed civilians as they tried to flee and block access to essential supplies. Blinken said the State Department had conducted months of deliberation over the genocide designation. Based on this information, I have now concluded that members of the RSF and allied militias have committed genocide in Sudan. Blinken's announcement on Tuesday has come amid heightened global scrutiny of US positions on international conflicts, and just days earlier Blinken had dismissed suggestions that events in Gaza constituted genocide, responding, "No, it's not," in an interview with New York Times. A paramilitary force that emerged out of the notorious Jawadawi's militia that committed atrocities in Darfur in the 2000s. The RSF was deployed by the former Sudanese director Omar al-Bashir in 2019 to crack down on the pro-democracy protesters during Sudan's revolution that saw Bashir fall in 2019. In 2023, an uneasy alliance between Hemri and Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the Sudanese army general who became head of the country's ruling transitional council, broke down, triggering a devastating civil war between the RSF and Buran's Sudanese armed forces and ensuring famine. Both of them are fucking pricks because they both want power. I don't call them fucking pricks because they were on the cusp of actually having a civilian government in Sudan. Some of the most serious allegations relating to Hemry and the RSF are once again focused on Darfur, where up to 15,000 people have died, as well as documented RSF attacks on El Janiga in western Darfur in 2023, targeting the non-Arab militants and other ethnic groups. Yeah, this is what they've been doing, targeting ethnic cleansing. The RSF have reportedly been doing. In his statement, Blinken has said, I also determined that members of the RSF and allied Arab militias had committed crimes against humanity and ethnic cleansing. The RSF and RSF's allied militias have continued to direct attacks against civilians. The RSF and allied militias have systematically murdered men and boys, even infants, on an ethnic basis, and deliberately targeted women and girls from certain ethnic groups for rape and other forms of brutal sexual violence. Those same militias have targeted fleeing civilians, murdering innocent people escaping conflict, and preventing remaining civilians from accessing life-saving supplies. Based on this information, I have now concluded that members of the RSF and allied militias have committed genocide in Sudan. Andrew Luke, good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. The United States is committing to holding accountable for those responsible for these atrocities, and we are today sanctioning RSF leader Mohammed, known as Hemry, for his role in the systematic atrocities committed against the Sudanese people. We're also sanctioning 7 RSF-owned companies located in the UAE and 1 individual for their role in procuring weapons for the RSF. The latest genocide determination follows the US declaration in 2004 that the RSF forerunner had committed in Darfur in the early 2000s. The Treasury Department has simultaneously announced sweeping sanctions against Hemry and 8 connected entities, including UAE-based companies, accused of providing weapons and financial support to his forces. The UAE have constantly said they've had no connections whatsoever to the RSF. That we keep seeing it coming up. The measures include visa restrictions that will bar Hemry and his family from entering the United States, specifically citing gross violation of human rights in Darfur, namely the mass rape of civilians by RSF soldiers under his control. The war between RSF and Sudan armed forces, which has so far killed tens of thousands and created one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, including perpetrating a mass famine for hundreds of thousands and forcing 12 million people from their homes, according to UN estimates. The SAF was not implemented in US sanctions or in the genocide determination. Last month, rights activists responded to at least 127 people, mostly civilians, that were killed by barrel bombs and shelling on both sides. On Sunday, an airstrike which targeted market area for the 3rd time in less than a month left more than 30 wounded, 5 in critical condition, according to local volunteer rescue workers. Among the sanctioned entities in the capital, TAP Holding, a UAE-based company that alleged channeled money and military equipment to the RSF. Its owner, Abdul Dawar Ahmed, and several related companies were also targeted, helping the paramilitary group evade previous sanctions. The genocide determination, which follows earlier findings of war crimes and crimes against humanity, could pave the way for additional international action against the RSF and its supporters. The US getting around to Sudan's decades later is good. That's true, but they have been trying to they have been trying to negotiate getting both sides around the table. The US, I will say that. I think that's important context to add as well. They have been trying to get them around the table, but it's been understandably so. It's been proven difficult to do so, I'm afraid. But yeah, just seeing those statistics and how long this has been going on just tells you just how really bad it is. And like I said, it's really dark. This obviously what's happening in Sudan is really dark, and nobody wants to talk about it because it is really brutal. But this is the reality that that the people in Sudan live in every single day. Every single day. And it's horrifying. I don't like covering stories like this and hearing on a consistent basis what's happening in places like these, but I do it because it matters. It matters what's happening here. It matters what's happening in Myanmar. It matters what's happening in Chad and those African countries in conflict. It matters what's happening in Gaza. but places like Sudan do not get talked about enough. I mean, one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. And what is the world talking about? Mass migration. Donald Trump wanting to buy fucking Greenland. That's the main topics. Not the fact that hundreds of thousands of people are dying from famine, millions displaced in Sudan. Like, where is the scream in agony saying we've got to do something here? Millions of people are suffering as a direct result of this conflict. Why is the world not doing something about this? We're talking millions of people. But they don't want to, because it's not news to them. It's all about ratings, isn't it? So, Dame, again, it's good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, looking forward to you being back next week. Guys, make sure you check out his YouTube channel. The two Davies, they'll be back next week. Very much looking forward to their return. So the next story I've got for you guys, I was a bit skeptical about where this is from, but I do think because I have read it before I wanted to put this up, but because I do think this is worth talking about. This is more of an article or an opinion piece from a website called The Conversation. So it's an academic, rigorous, journalistic flair. They are. So the headline they have is the Dominican Republic's expulsion of thousands of Haitians shows the brutality of mass deportations. So, and before I read into this piece, and I think it's a very interesting piece as well, and I think many of us can take this on board, quite rightly so. That, the Dominican Republic, which shares the island with Haiti, shares the same island with Haiti. Obviously, for them, they don't want nothing to do with. They're getting to this point where they're getting more and more Haitians, and they are pushing them back into Haiti, kicking them out basically of their country, and they're not taking the exact page book of Donald Trump, but they're certainly going down that path of it. That's for sure. But I think this is. I have covered it briefly when I've talked about Haiti in the past, about some going back, but not to this extent. So the US President-elect Donald Trump has threatened mass deportations of undocumented migrants once his second term begins. So as he prepares to fulfill his campaign promise, it's important to understand how these types of mass deportations are carried out. The Dominican Republic DR offers a cautionary tale. So since the beginning of October 2024, Dominican President Luis Albrana Colonna, I mispronounced his name, I apologize, has committed to deporting 10,000 Haitians a week. The Organization of International Migration registered 27,000 Haitians had been deported from the DR by the end of October, reaching 40,000 by November 18th. Haitians represent the largest migrant community in the DR because Haiti and the DR share the Caribbean island of Hispania. According to the latest Dominion National Survey of Immigration conducted in 2017, 497,000, so you could pretty much say 500,000, Haitian migrants live in the DR, representing 4.9% of the total population. Assuming that these numbers haven't changed drastically, 40,000 deportations amount to a significant proportion of the Haitian population in the DR. So I was just checking what that noise in the background was. During my research visit of July 2024, it was clear that the Dominion Army, police and migration officers have just given deportation targets long before the president's October announcement. I spoke to people who said migration raids became more violent and arbitrary when the deadline approached and targets had not been met. In border areas, I was told about deported Haitians who were extorted by army officers and others that had paid to be smuggled back into the DR, only to be deported once again. In addition to extortion, migrants were also subject to violence in their attempts to return to the DR. The pressure to meet the president's target has propelled the current wave of deportations without regard to either domestic or international law. Where have I heard domestic and international law thrown out the window, guys? Sounds familiar? According to Dominican law, children, pregnant and lacerated migrant women should not be deported. However, civil society organizations report that there have been migration raids in maternity wards, particularly in 2021, also during the last months of 2024. Despite the fact Dominion law prioritizes the rights of children to family reunification, my research interview tells me vaccinated women have been forcefully separated from their infants. They also told me of cases in which Haitian-looking children, in other words black, were loaded onto deportation trucks on their way home from school. Racial profiling, in fact, is a key aspect of deportation in the DR. Black people are targeted and their identity documents are disregarded. So, basically, if you are Haitian in the Dominican Republic, regardless of whether you have status or not, you will be deported. You will be basically kicked out. It doesn't matter that you have documents and whatnot. You will still be kicked out. So my advice for any Haitians who are still in that country, you need to leave if you haven't left already. For example, in my research visit to Northern Dominion border crossing in 2022, I met a young Dominion Haitian teen apprehended by police in the middle of the night. The boy had no time to collect his documents as he was forced into a migration truck. He was held under harsh conditions at the border, far from his hometown, while his mother looked for transport options to bring his documents to authorize to prove that he was in fact Dominion. Jesus. The boy was lucky he had documents at all. Historically, access to documents among Haitians, Dominions, specifically Dominions of Haitian descent, have been chronically lacking. The situation has worsened since 2013, when up to 200,000 Dominion of Haitian descent were denationalized, making them subject of deportation back to a country where many of them have never been. This is the kind of shit that Donald Trump is licking his lips over. Not so much maybe him, but maybe the people around him. This is fucking scary. Haitian labour migration has been a significant feature of the Dominican Republic's development since the beginning of the 20th century. During a period of occupation and heightened influence over both sides of the Hispania, the United States promised the cultivation of sugar in the DR while implementing a racially segregated migration system. The migration model sought to attract European immigrants and dissuade black and Asian people from coming to the island. The only viable option for the majority of Haitians to immigrate to the DR was through a labour migration scheme geared towards Haitian men working on sugar plantations under profoundly exploitative conditions. Basically working for near to next nothing, basically, is what they're implying. Slavery, almost on that level. Even though sugar is no longer the main economic sector of the Dominion economy, the country remains an important destination for Haitians, especially since it is the only one that they can reach by land. Yeah, because they're on an island, that's the only other place they can go to. The DR and Haiti are important trading partners with high volumes of goods moving across the border. There are also long-standing cross-border social and cultural practices that shape the culture of both sides of the island. The DR is also a key destination for Haitians fleeing political violence and the efforts of national disaster. In particular, the 2010 earthquake displaced an estimate 2.3 million people, generated unprecedented numbers of internal and international displacement. Haiti is still not fully recovered from the disaster. A deep governance crisis resulted from the intervention of an array of international entities that managed up to US $24 billion between 2010 and 2012 without significant participation of the Haitian government. All done without them. More recent natural disasters affected Haitian, including the hurricane 2016. We all remember that. Displaced another 175,000 people, and then the earthquake in 2021. They didn't recover from their heart. Not enough was done to help them during the hurricane, and the earthquake just made things even worse for them. Today, Haiti finds itself in the middle of a formidable political crisis. Following the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in 2021, the country's public institutions have become severely weakened. Most have fallen into the hands of informal armed groups. We know this already, especially in the capital Port-au-Prince and surrounding areas. These gangs terrorize the population. Mobility within the country is restricted due to violence and sky-high fuel prices, which makes transportation inaccessible. Access to clean water, sanitation, electricity, and nutrition remains a challenge to the wide majority of the population. Everyday life is subject to gun and sexual violence in widespread gang-controlled areas. It's normal. It's normalized. To us, sexual violence and that kind of thing is abhorrent, disgusting. But in Haiti, in these gang control areas, it's normal. According to recent news release put out by Haitian support groups for repatriés, reprimands, I can't say that word, sorry, and refugees, 1,200 people died due to gang violence between July and September of 2024. The organisation specifically referred to a massacre on December the 10th, the International Day of Human Rights, that left 180 civilians dead. Many of them elderly. Yeah, we covered that story. Basically, the story was is that the gang leader had a vision or something, and was told that that basically in his vision, he was told he needed to kill elderly people or something, or basically his son was taken away from him or something along those lines, and he basically went mad over it and basically just killed a bunch of innocent elderly people because of some dream or voodoo bollocks that he dreamt up. Absolutely insane. This makes the ongoing wave of deportations in the DR particularly reprehensible, since deportations are being forced to return to an environment of extreme violence. Yeah. The DR is not the only country forcing Haitians to return to these conditions. According to US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency statistics, the deportation of Haitians without criminal records has doubled between 2021 and 2024 and increased tenfold since 2022. Haitians face significant challenges in accessing international protections through the Americans, starting with their next door neighbor. Now, as Trump prepares to make good on his promise of mass deportations, it's important to pay attention to what's happening in the Caribbean. Haitians took center stage in the migration debate during the presidential election campaign when Trump disassembled false claims about migration criminality in Springfield, Ohio, resulting in threats of violence against the Haitian community there. And we are witnessing the global community turn its back on Haitians as they navigate the country's worst political crisis in decades, and they'll be forced to return to a country where their lives are at risk. Will the same fate await the migrants victimized by Trump's mass deportation? I think we know the answer to that, don't we, guys? A brutal but honest, an honest piece there, I would have to say. That you have to understand, like, it's easy to say that Haitians should be doing more to look after themselves, or they should be on their own 2 feet. Like, it's not just political. It's not just about the politics and the corruption in the country. We have to remember that Mother Nature is also another factor in why they are in the hole that they are in as well. As we just read in there, the hurricane, the earthquake, the devastation. They have never fully recovered from them. And it's only a matter of time before another big disaster will hit them again. And they're already despondent. And what's been done? Like, the one thing that's, even Russia and China have consistently vetoed any kind of US peacekeeping mission there as well. So that can't deal with the situation. I mean, right now recently there was, obviously they have about 200 or plus or so Kenyan police forces assisting the police force in trying to take on these gangs, which they're still struggling to do so. And then some new forces have come from Central America, 2 nations, not that many. And it's just like, for me, it's just like, this is not working. It's just not working. I know it's a brutal story, but I think it was very important that we covered it. The Dominican Republic is also notoriously corrupt, with large differences between the ones with money and the poorest people. Yeah, they've been influenced. They've been very fortunate where they are believe it or not, because of where they are positioned as well. They also avoid the earthquakes and the stormy weather as well. They get it. The weather is on their side as well, geography wise. which is crazy. If there's a video I recommend just to emphasize, just like, yes, it is corrupt, as Jal says, but if you really want to emphasize and see just how bloody different the two contrasts of two countries of how they've gone, check out the YouTube channel Real Life Law and look up the differences between the two countries. Yeah, Haiti has shot itself in the foot, no question, but the contrast between the two countries is insane. It's absolutely insane. The Dominican Republic is a popular vacation destiny there. Not for me, no money, and no was to spend my vacation dying of a heat stroke. Yeah, I'm sure it is quite a paradise there, as is many other places, that's for sure, guys. So, guys, I'm just going to run through a little bit of stories from the Kiev Independent on what's happening in Ukraine. I'm going to just refresh this story here. Just give me one moment. So we have been going on for quite a while. Has this one updated? Okay. Yeah. Right. So we'll start with this one first here. So Russian airstrike against Kherson injures 6 and damages a kindergarten. This was at just before 1 o'clock today. The story is still being updated. Russian forces dropped guided aerial bombs in the city of Kherson today, injuring at least 6 people, the governor has said. One bomb reportedly hit a house, destroying it, and a kindergarten and a business was also reported as damaged. Victims include 2 women and 4 men who suffered blast injuries and shrapnel wounds. One victim was treated on the spot, and the rest have been hospitalized, Pushkin has said. One more resident suffered shocks, according to officials. Ukraine's armed forces liberated Kherson and other settlements on the West Bank and the Dnipro River during counter-offensive in the fall of 2022. Russian troops were pushed to the river's east bank, from where they have since been firing at the liberated territory, regularly resulting in civilian deaths as well as large-scale destruction of homes and infrastructure. Yeah, that's just been what's been happening in that piece. This is an update report of an airstrike in a Zaporizhzhia industrial site that kills 13 and injures 122. This story still was updated to include the latest here. So Russian forces target an industrial facility in Zaporizhzhia yesterday on January the 8th, killing 13 people and injuring 122, including a child, according to State Emergency Service. Search and rescue operations have now been completed. At least 59 people have been hospitalized, with 10 in critical condition. Zaporizhzhia Oblast Governor Ivan Friskos have reported on the morning of January the 9th. The attack was conducted using KAB guided bombs, Ferrat has said. And according to the National Police, the bombs exploded among a crowd of people between the infrastructure facility, administrative building, and the road. The attack damaged apartment buildings and industrial facilities and other infrastructures, and a tram and a minibus carrying passengers were also hit, according to the Prosecutor's General's office. 4 administrative buildings and 27 cars were damaged, the state emergency has also said. Zaporizhzhia, home to approximately 710,000 residents before Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, is frequently targeted by Russian forces. The attack is part of a broader wave of Russian assaults across Ukraine. Regional authorities reported at least 2 civilian deaths and 13 injured nationwide over the past day. And overnight, Russia launched 64 Shahad-type attack drones and various dummy drones across Ukraine, according to Ukrainian armed forces. Air defenses intercepted 41 drones over 9 oblasts of the Romanian drones, and 22 dummy drones were lost in Ukrainian airspace. 3 returned to Russia, and 1 had returned to Belarus. Let's see what else we've got here from the Kiev as well. So, according to this, 4,000 North Korean troops have been killed or wounded in fighting against Ukraine, Zelensky has claimed. So, according to Zelensky, North Korean troops fighting alongside Russian forces against Ukraine have suffered 4,000 casualties, both wounded and killed. Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has claimed today at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Kiev Independent could not independently verify the claim. The claim comes as North Korea has deepened its military ties with Moscow. Geoffrey Shamonshi, the US Deputy Ambassador to the UN, said on the 8th of January that more than 12,000 North Korean troops were in Russia. Putin is not just maintaining his investment in aggression, he's doubling down. He's even started hiring soldiers from North Korea to keep the war going, Zelensky has said. North Korea is leaning modern methods of warfare. They do not value their people, and they have lost 4,000 people so far. North Korea's involvement is seen as a mutual benefit for Pyongyang and Moscow. She warned that North Korea is gaining valuable combat experience and receiving Russian equipment and technology which could enhance its capacity to wage war. Pyongyang reportedly deployed its troops to Kursk Oblast last fall to help counter a surprise Ukrainian incursion launched on August the 6th. Ukrainian forces have continued to fight in the region, seeking to regain it as leverage for future negotiations with Russia. In his January the 5th interview with Lex Fredman, Zelensky also warned that Pyongyang could send an additional 30,000 to 40,000 troops on the front as well there. How has that benefited the North Korean people exactly? Answers on the postcard, please. This is an interesting one that I've seen pop up as well. So Syria has reportedly blocked the evacuation of Russian military equipment from its naval base. So as you guys, obviously stepping away just briefly from Ukraine. So as you guys know, there are military bases, Russian military bases in Syria. And the reports from sources that from various outlets and reports is that Russia were pulling out of Syria. They were pulling out of their military bases. So it looks like the cheeky Syrians, who now have control, who since have overthrown the government, are reportedly standing in front of the Russian military soldiers and saying, "No, that equipment's ours now. We're taking it." According to this. Which, mind you, I'd rather the Syrians take it than Russia, if I'm honest. Because they desperately need that equipment. If this is true, of course. The new Syrian authorities have refused to grant entry to a ship that was supposed to evacuate Russian military equipment from Russia's Tartus naval base in Syria, the Moscow Times have reported today. The refusal follows the December overthrow of Russian-backed dictator Bashar al-Assad by rebel forces, marking a significant shift in Syria's political landscape. The Sparta II, a Russian cargo ship under US sanctions, had been drifting near Tartus since January the 5th after leaving Buskis in Kaliningrad Oblast on December the 11th, according to the Moscow Times. Reports indicate that Russian forces have dismantled air defense radars and moved over 100 trucks of equipment to the port. No ships are currently docked to facilitate the evacuation, leaving personnel and equipment stranded. Oh dear, oh dear. Twitch chat, I'm about to lose you in just a moment, unfortunately. Without clearance from the new Syrian government, the evacuation of Russia's military assets from Tartus is stalled, according to a Maritime executive. The Cameroon air base, served by Russian defense military flights, reportedly remain the only active evacuation route. And Ukraine's Foreign Ministry, Andrei Sebar, I'm sorry for mispronouncing the name, addresses Russia's military presence in Syria during a December 30th diplomatic visit to Damascus, according to Ukrainian Foreign Ministry spokesperson. Ukraine and the new Syrian leadership share similar views on the matter, although specific details were not disclosed. This is very interesting. It's specifically saying military equipment, but it's not equipment that they should be entitled to anyway, apparently. So this is an aerial view, shows the Syrian Awad island off the coast of Tartus there. Interesting. Have we got anything else on this? Nothing on that. We'll go for this last report, guys, before we head to the final funny video. The UN is ready to lead. The EU is ready to lead in Ukraine support if the US steps back, this chief diplomat has said. The European Union is prepared to take a leading role in supporting Ukraine if US backs or wanes. The EU chief diplomat Kallas has said on January the 9th at Raskin Air Base in Germany, and Germany media outlet has also reported. If the United States is not ready for it, the European Union is ready to take the lead. Well, that's like it's all well and good saying that, but we just don't have the same military equipment, the same stuff that America has. So I just don't know if that's going to be enough for them in all seriousness. President-elect Donald Trump and his team expressed skepticism about the ongoing financial U.S. support for Ukraine. Michael Waltz, Trump's incoming national security advisor, said on December the 15th. That's a blank check isn't a strategy. Kallas emphasized that regardless of leadership, the US has no interest in Russia being the strongest power in the world. That is true, but that's the US. But Trump, on the other hand, that's a different answer. A report in the Wall Street Journal indicated that Trump's team may propose delaying Ukraine's NATO membership by 20 years in exchange for Western arms supplies and European peacekeepers to oversee a ceasefire with Russia. Trump has pledged to bring a swift end to the war, but has yet to provide details for his achieving peace. Yeah, but he achieving peace, guys. So those are just some things that have been going on in Ukraine. So obviously we're just kind of waiting to see what Trump does at this point now when it comes to the war in Ukraine. I think that's the kind of it at the moment. So when Trump takes over, what action, if any, are they going to take, apart from perhaps threatening to just stop giving them weapons and supplies and money? Like, are they actually going to stop what's happening? Well, we will find out in 11 days' time. Reminder that the Trump inauguration is on the 20th. So we'll find out after the 20th. I'm sure he'll go on about buying Greenland again. But yeah, that's the situation we got right now for you guys. So guys, just before we head out, I've got one last funny video for you guys before we see ourselves out. It's a bit of a different one it is from 4 hours, but it's a bit of an odd one. You might find it funny, you might find it a bit weird. I don't know. I'll let you see what you guys think of this one, but hope you guys find this one. The headline for this one is "Confessing Your Sins to a Fitness Instructor." Enjoy.
Bless me, personal trainer, for I have sinned.
Speak, my child.
I had 18 pints of Guinness and a kebab. Trainer?
How did it happen?
It was the bank holiday weekend. It was supposed to be wholesome.
Go on.
It was Friday night, everything was going according to plan, but then Terry texted into the WhatsApp group a picture of
a pint.
Picture of a pint.
Oh, yeah.
It just looked so beautiful.
You were tempted.
Yes, trainer. Before I knew it, I'd had 12 pints. It was 4 a.m. and I was in the shipper ordering
garlic cheesy chips.
Garlic cheesy chips, yes.
Yeah. We've been here before, haven't we?
Yes, trainer.
Well, then what happened?
When we got home, I don't want to say it.
Anything we say in here will not be shared anywhere else on Instagram.
I ate an entire Dr. Royke meat feast extra large pizza.
With friends?
No.
Thin crust?
Stuffed.
You have sinned, my child.
I feel terrible.
Well, that's good. You feel remorse?
No, the hangover,
okay.
It's awful.
How was the rest of the weekend?
I just stayed on the couch for the next 2 days.
How many steps?
I'm ashamed to say.
How many steps?
6 or 7.
6 or 7? Is that even enough to get to the toilet?
Not really.
Any shakes?
I could barely hold my phone.
Protein shakes?
Oh, no.
If you don't change your ways, my child, you will be judged, along with everyone else, on the final day of this 6-week program.
Yes, trainer, I will. I know that there's a plan for me.
Yes, there's a plan for everyone in the gym. It's part of the membership, so...
I struggle to stick to it.
Yeah. For your penance, give me 10 burpees, 15 crunches and 25 minutes on the treadmill.
Cardio.
And in the meantime, work on your inner strength.
My core?
Yes, your core. Go now, and I'll see you on Sunday at 11 a.m. along with the rest of the spinning congregation.
Thank you, trainer.
Go in peace.
Bless me, trainer, for I've sinned. I've been cheating on my partner.
Go on.
I say I've done 10 reps when I've only done 9.
Doomda. It's a bit of a weird combination, that is for sure. There. Didn't I say I was going to go back to the gym at some point? I did say that, didn't I, guys? It is on my to-do list. I need a good kick up the backside. What did the gang behind me think of it, guys? What do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy it? Ollie, what have you done? Like, get your ass back on that orb. How dare you? Rude. You got off the orb. How terrible of him. But the gang have been here, and as you can see, Ollie turned off the orb again because he thinks he's funny. He thinks he's clever. Pingu doesn't agree. Pingu thinks he's a menace. That's for sure, guys. So we covered quite a variety of stories today, guys. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's given their time here tonight. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you have enjoyed the rest of your evenings, whatever you got planned. Regan's News Round has been recorded. It's already ready for Saturday to drop at 8 p.m. for you guys. Obviously, tomorrow at 7 p.m. I'll be doing a Q&A live stream. Don't forget to check out the community post. That's on Q question. That gives you put your questions in there for me, please. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be politics. It can be anything, guys. Do put some questions in there, guys. I really appreciate it. So if you can join me for that, that would be greatly appreciated. There is also one on the Discord as well, on the Discord threads under questions and answers live stream as well. So if you want to put them in there as well, you can do so. So please do that before you head off, guys. I would really appreciate if you can do that on the under the community tab on the homepage. Under post, please leave some questions. I would really appreciate if you guys can do that for me. And also, memory going with me. So next week, of course, is the usual schedule. And then Thursday, next week, 1 week from now, myself, Power to the People, Graham Price, Lee Korn, and Ryan Angry Pagan, the four of us will come together for another, is a Snowflake Roundtable, but I'm calling it Mountaintop. But the first one of 2025. So do join us for that. I'm hoping that like I said earlier on, I'm hoping I will get February's one sorted. It is going to be scheduled for a Wednesday instead of a Thursday because I'm getting a new person on board. Cross fingers for that one. So hopefully it will come. It will be will all work out as well. And I'm planning to have One Angry Pagan on later this month as well. We're going to be talking as well, just chat between me and him on a Thursday as well. We're going to be covering some specifics on specific topics of discussion as well. So do join us for that. I'll let you guys know a bit closer to the time. But thank you guys all for coming along. Thank you guys for all your comments. Really appreciate it, for hanging out here in the chat. But just before I go, just have one last thing to say. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, guys. It'd be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here on this channel, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very soon.